present joy and happiness is the prayer of our hearts. Our app reflects this inner calling, broadcasting regular and spontaneous live events. Stay connected. Our push notifications will remind you of upcoming live events so that your mind can rest. Infuse your day with purpose with our daily gospel of love, or sink into a guided meditation to take you beyond this world and into the heart of Christ. Tune in to the LCM app radio, broadcasting inspirational music 24 hours a day. Join us in an experience and embrace the power of the present moment with the free LCM app.
Wake up with the movie, see the projections on the screen. David Hoffmeister guides us to places we've never been. Over 300 tales, Hollywood's modern parables. Laugh and learn, relax and see the picture in light so full. Enlightenment through the real, find forgiveness in every scene. With the guide in your hand, let your spirit be redeemed. Wake up with the movies, let the wisdom set you free. In the light of truth we journey, with David's vision leading me. Oh, wake up with the movies, see the world anew. David's guide is waiting with wisdom just for you. Take the leap into the light, let the movies show the way. Wake up with the movies, find forgiveness today.
No private thoughts and no people pleasing. That's really part of bringing the darkness to the light. When your focus becomes more on open communication, heart-to-heart open communication, transparency, say what you mean what you say, be open, be direct, then that's part of the approach to coming to the present moment. You do have to give yourself permission to feel the feelings. You have to allow it because it's part of the process of the healing. And eventually, the more you get into the allowance of that and the more you really can join through prayer with the Holy Spirit, then that time of those dark emotions just gets shortened and you are more able to choose the miracle. That's where the transparency is so important. And it really just opens your mind up more towards these revelatory experiences where you have these direct experiences of light that are not perceptual at all. And those are like glimmers of eternity. Those are like glimmers of your Christ vision coming in.
Hey everyone,
Morning.
it's good to see you all. Thanks for joining us for this movie workshop. Yeah, I feel like we've got an awakening classic for you guys today. I'm really excited to share this movie with you. Not least because I feel like the movie for this week kind of came to us in a bit of a different way than it usually does. Um, Normally, we're kind of looking at our minds and sort of seeing if we can find like what are the things going on in our minds and what do we want to share at a mind level for the week, and then from there, the movie usually comes from that place of like, okay, what do we want to share, and then what movie can kind of help facilitate that. But it was interesting because when we were trying to do that this week, nothing was really landing. There was a number of options that, especially you, I think, had had in mind for a few weeks or at least a few days, as possibilities, but we weren't really sure. So, Kristen at that point had the bright idea to leave it up to the MWGE Oracle, which is a feature on our site where you just click a button and a random movie pops up.
Random.
It's not really very random. But yeah, we did that. And then it was exactly the movie that Kristen had had in mind for a number of weeks. So it was a kind of an interesting experience because then it's like, well, none of the themes in this movie that is coming toward us and feeling pretty obvious, these signs and symbols of the MWG Oracle and just having it be in mind, like there's not really that much that we're expecting or have in mind to talk about. But I think once we just kind of leaned into that, it was a beautiful experience in like kind of surrendering actually to what the guidance was without any personal, like, I know what needs to be healed. I know what we should talk about. It was more like letting it be shown in a really beautiful way.
Yeah, I think these movie gatherings for us are more and more an experience of surrender, which, I mean, aside from whatever gets shared on the day that we're sharing, like even the lead up and this whole process for us is quite beautiful. And so the movie that we're going to share today is totally in line with this. It's called Before I Fall. Probably you've seen it. Yeah, I see some nodding heads there. It's such a lovely movie. And as we were um, thinking about it, this idea of surrender was coming to mind because I kept asking Zach, I was like, before I fall, like I need to understand what the title of that movie feels, because it's basically a Looper movie where this young girl, she's in high school and she experiences just like your normal high school life, but at the end of one of her days, there's a car accident and she's killed in the car accident. But then, much like Groundhog Day or any of these Looper movies, she wakes up at the beginning of that very same day again. And so I was like, Zach, before I fall, what is this title meant to convey? Like, what is the fall? And he's like, or we kind of jammed about a few words and we both landed on this word surrender. Before I surrender. So like before she really lets go in a very, very deep way. Um, and so the spirit, well, I don't know if I want to get too deep into that yet, but basically it was, yeah, just a beautiful um, lead up to this movie as well. Like every part of this, the spirit is continuing to use so that when it comes time to share, um, there's a whole store of miracles that have been paving the way for it.
Yeah, it feels really beautiful as well because, this is considered one of the awakening classics, and we don't really consider a movie that unless it in some way goes all the way. So I think, you'll be able to sort of see this is why, yeah, the Looper movies are so beautiful because we can kind of see this high school student kind of start in much the same way as any one of us in this world perceives ourselves as a person in a world with lots of seeming problems or um, even just kind of numb to it all. And then she goes on a journey which ends in like a complete surrender. So, yeah, we don't want to get into that too much right now, but I feel like, this movie kind of covers the entire range so that we can watch her go through these things that we need to go through or are going through, and maybe don't have to go through them ourselves then.
Yeah, and as Zach was sharing, none of the themes really stood out in our mind as we were leading up to this week. But as soon as we started watching this movie, it was very clear, like, oh wow, yeah, this is really speaking actually to what we're experiencing now. So the themes that emerged strongly in mind were going beyond the personal. So just even with our assignment here, um, there's some experiences we'd love to share with you, maybe a little later in the movie when they become a little more relevant. But there's Jesus tells us in A Course in Miracles that miracles are interpersonal. And it seems like what we're working with on a daily basis are interpersonal experiences, encounters, grievances, communications, all of that stuff. So this going beyond the personal idea was really attractive, because the only way you can get back to the guidance is to let go of the personal and to come back into this vertical alignment with the spirit, which is for everyone. It's completely inclusive. The guidance is always the best for everyone. So that was an idea that emerged strongly. And alongside that, there was the need for control that emerged and the need for approval, which are two main obstacles to coming back into the guidance, or when you experience seemingly interpersonal grievances, that those can sometimes be things that are coming up. So those emerge strongly as well. And I know you've got some quotes maybe, or maybe you'd like to share some more about that because they were feeling very sparkly to you.
Yeah, I feel like definitely in terms of kind of all the themes that came up as possibilities, this whole like moving beyond the personal um, felt like kind of the main direction that we wanted to take it. I think it's kind of part and parcel a little bit with this idea of dismantling the self-concept, which is kind of maybe more like another way of seeing the same thing. Like as this built self-concept disappears, you're more and more able to just move beyond this fixation with like people, whether it's other people or the self that you believe yourself to be. And, I think a lot of the fruits that can show up as you move beyond this focus on like interpersonal drama or uh, a fixation on the personal is this idea that actually allows space in your mind to really focus on the solution, which is like tuning into the Holy Spirit's guidance together instead of trying to analyze the problem, um, which would be like going back and seeing, okay, which thing in the past was the cause of our upset, or what did I do, or what did the other do that should have been done differently? Like all of that is just kind of rehashing this, trying to find the error in form, in the world that you see, in other people, in the person you think you are. But as that becomes less and less interesting, it's more just like, okay, I'm I'm not feeling aligned with the spirit. So let's focus on being aligned with the spirit. Like that's the only real problem. And it's the personal investment actually that will take this feeling, which doesn't feel good because if you're not aligned with the spirit, you're going to feel the emotions of the ego, anger and pain and suffering. So that doesn't feel good, but it's because you're not aligned with the spirit. And when there's a personal investment, you'll try and pin it on people, either other people or yourself. But that's what the personal investment is. So as you just have like more space in your mind to see like, oh, it's just that I'm not aligned. And sometimes there's an action component in that. Like, okay, uh, we weren't aligned here. Let's let's try this. But that action component comes from the spirit. It doesn't come from trying to fix anything in either personality self. So yeah, I think I do have a quote from the course that kind of speaks to this a little bit, which is really quite beautiful. It's from chapter 12, the Holy Spirit's curriculum, section 1, the judgment of the Holy Spirit, where in the middle of that section, it says, "It is surely good advice to tell you not to judge what you do not understand. No one with a personal investment is a reliable witness, for truth to him has become what he wants it to be. If you are unwilling to perceive an appeal for help as what it is because you are unwilling to give help and to receive it. To fail to recognize a call for help is to refuse help." So even in this little first section, it's kind of like it's pointing to the fact that when you're not feeling connected to the Holy Spirit, it's so tempting to think that you, the person, have made a mistake and are not connected to the Holy Spirit. But the guidance is always for the mind, at the mind level. So when the mind, like when there's not a feeling of not being connected, it's not that I'm not connected and this other person that I see in front of me is, like, she's just fine, or she's the problem and I'm fine. Like there's nothing that I can do. It's more like the mind is not connected and guidance is for the mind to get it lined up with the Holy Spirit. And so that's kind of what it's speaking to in this paragraph, because if you think that the guidance is like a personal thing, then it's very easy to see that as like an attack. Like, oh, you didn't line up with the Holy Spirit and now I have to clean this up, or now I'm not lining up with the Holy Spirit, so I should feel guilty about that, or whatever it is. But if you kind of back up a little bit and see it as a call for help, then what you offer and what you receive is the same in that moment, and you can get into this back in alignment, basically. So it goes on to say, would you maintain that you do not need it? Yet this is what you are maintaining when you refuse to recognize a brother's appeal. For only by answering his appeal can you be helped. Deny him your help, and you will not recognize God's answer to you. The Holy Spirit does not need your help in interpreting motivation, but you do need his. So again, this idea of interpreting motivation is if you personally try and do that, you're not with the Holy Spirit. Just a little bit more. Only appreciation is an appropriate response to your brother. Gratitude is due him for both his loving thoughts and his appeals for help, for both are capable of bringing love into awareness if you perceive them truly. And all your sense of strain comes from your attempts not to do just this. How simple, then, is God's plan for salvation? So, in my mind, that's just kind of a nice summary of this idea of focusing on the solution instead of trying to analyze the problem, which is kind of a big part of these themes that we wanted to share today. And yeah, we can get into how it applies to us maybe a little bit later when we're watching the movie.
Yeah, I think this ties in as well to one of the other themes, or maybe the last major theme that was coming to mind. This is one of my favorite themes to talk about. It's awareness of dreaming. Or maybe a better way to say that is it feels very, very relatable, um, in the sense that Jesus uses the dream analogy a lot throughout the course. And with what Zach was talking about, this dismantling of the self concept, the more we continue to let go, and start to perceive or start to take a step back, there is a space that opens up in our mind where the Holy Spirit can then start to work with us in a much deeper way at the mind level. And we're going to see this demonstrated really beautifully in the movie because this is Sam. Sam is the main character in our story, and she's going to go from being completely immersed in the mesmerism of her daily life and through this looping experience, which at first she perceives as a punishment or, with a lot of confusion and everything, but there's a lot of, well, I would say the whole gamut of the human emotions that she has to go through. But through this step back that she's forced to take because of this very bizarre experience, there's this awareness of dreaming that starts to come in. This is a wonderful movie for conveying that. And yeah, I find myself very inspired by this theme just because dreams are something we can all kind of connect to, in terms of just the things that we experience perhaps during the night. And then Jesus speaks to that as well, like all your time is spent in dreaming, which we can go into a bit more. So basically, we wanted to bring this theme in just as a fruit of this experience that Sam will go through, and then as an experience that we all can tap into from time to time, and then perhaps more consistently as we continue. So I don't want to speak to it from a place of um, um, knowing completely about anything. Like it's still a very active learning process, but I love this theme so much, because I find that it's just so relatable. Um, so yeah, I think maybe even just going into loopers a little bit feels inspiring, because there's a tendency to see these kinds of movies or to watch the characters go through this process from this place of I'm being punished or, deep confusion, what's going on? How do I get out of this? Like just this frantic need to escape. But I feel like when seen through the Holy Spirit's lens, it's seen as a massive gift, like just this profound, very gentle gift where it provides this vast view of what's going on in the mind. You can start to see the patterns emerge and where you're making the same decisions over and over again that maybe are causing you pain. So these looper movies are something as well that I feel is very relatable or very practical in the sense that there's aspects of our daily life that get repeated every day, whether it's, following the same kind of routine or noticing that we make the same decisions day in and day out. So I feel like it's the spirit's way of just of start to lose my words. Yeah. It's like the spirit's way of um opening a door for us. Like, do you want to choose again? Here's an opportunity. Oh, that's okay. Let's try again. And there's this line from the course that is kind of delightful to find. It's not something that I ever remembered, but it says, teachers must be patient and repeat their lessons until they are learned. So that, like in a nutshell, is what we're going to see here with Sam, because she is a teacher in the sense that once there is more of an acceptance that she can't fix the form of what's happening, there will start to be something different and deeper that kicks in, and she'll start to realize that she has an important role to play in what's going on. She has an assignment, and through her acceptance of that assignment, we'll start to see this dismantling occur in a bit more dramatic, or a bit more drama. And then, yeah, that clears the way for her to be truly helpful. And yeah, start to experience more of the fruits of the spirit, just a deeper peace and looking for the connection more with her brothers, which is looking for the connection with the spirit. So yeah, I just adore these Looper movies. I feel like they're incredibly practical wherever it feels like we're starting to, or we're looping with things in our life or in our mind, I should say. It's just kind of a call into awareness of that. And this was something that we heard David speaking about. He says unawareness is the problem with, with anything we're experiencing, like the mind is in complete communication with everything. So wherever there's pockets of unawareness, there's going to be this limitation. And so these Looper movies kind of shine a light on those limitations so that they can be opened up um, into more of a complete view.
Yeah, I feel like even the value of Looper movies for our daily lives, like we've kind of explained the value at the mind level, but I think it's just so tempting to look at this Looper movie and say, like, oh, I don't seem to be experiencing the same day over and over and over again. In reality, that's basically what it is because the mind is just learning as Kristen said with her quote, like the same lesson, repeat their lessons until they are learned. But even even in our world where the day seems to be different in form each time, there can be a value if you seem to be like in a structure given by the spirit, like say you have a 9 to 5 job, or even if you just have a practice like yoga or meditation or whatever, like we can see it in the movie. The form being exactly the same is what allows the main character, Sam, to kind of take it off the form because the form is boring now. Like she knows what's going to happen. So it's like she pours all her energy into what's going on in her mind after the second or third loop because there's not that mesmerism of, oh, the form's exciting and new and different, which completely covers over what's going on in the mind at that point. So, yeah, I feel like this is just a beautiful example of something that can happen to encourage us to bring it back more into the mind and really pay attention
Mm.
to what's going on so that we can make another choice, learn our lessons, um, which is kind of the value of this Looper movie.
Yeah, it's like we're mesmerized by the specifics and the way that, all the things that all the people are doing. Not just people, all the circumstances, the outward circumstances. We're mesmerized in this looking outside of ourselves for the form to tell us who we are and what to do. And so through these experiences, these very, and for most of the world would call these very unusual experiences, it encourages her to start to see all the specifics as the same. And then it becomes very, very simple. It's either a call for love or it's love. So in that way, she's freed up to be in communication more with the spirit to be truly helpful. So yeah, I think that's where the awareness of dreaming can kick in. Like it's not, necessarily about in the investment in what the world is doing, but it's really watching it from the spirit's lens and seeing where there are opportunities. This was a word that came up yesterday when we were talking with Helena on our live. But where there are opportunities to communicate and offer support and convey love, extend, which allows you to keep it in your own awareness and which is her function. So yeah, I think maybe that's a good enough setup. Um, or maybe there's another thought or two in there. Yeah, we're just gonna see Sam go through these iterations through her days, and I feel like the movie will carry itself in the sense that there's a very obvious and predictable transformation that will occur, which is why we love this movie so much. You know, we're all being carried towards the light. And we'll come in from time to time, unless you've got more thoughts, but we'll come in from time to time and just, highlight anything that feels supportive. And yeah, just enjoy. And I always feel like I want to mention this, but these Looper movies as well are great. All movies are great for having a look at what might be going on in your mind. So if you have an instrument for peace handy, that could also be supportive for your process.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.